I'm Jason Lee, owner of Lee Insurance and Notary Services. I assist businesses and individuals with finding affordable insurance solutions for their auto, home, life, or business insurance. Contact me today to give me an opportunity to earn your business. My number is 478-254-9858. Lee Insurance and Notary Services, always honest, always fair.
I was looking at Facebook today and saw a post from a guy named Dominic Johnson, Reverend Dominic Johnson. And in that post, he mentioned that this past weekend we had about 6 shootings. But he didn't just say we had these shootings and get sad. What he did is he kind of called the community together, particularly ministers, announced that he's going to try, in fact, get them together to address the situation. Now, the reason that that's important, because the things that happen in our community is a community problem. I repeat that. It's a community problem. Now, what that suggests to me is that everybody in the community can play a role in addressing what's happening. I'm sure that most of us are very, very familiar with, the crime and the shootings and the burglaries and things of that nature, but there are situations and circumstances behind those happenings. We've got a very, very efficient and dedicated and prominent official in our community who's in charge of trying to keep the community together to serve and to protect. And that official is our High Sheriff, Mr. David Davis. How you doing, Sheriff?
Doing fine, sir.
Yeah, it's good to see you. And I read the report and I read your comments as it relates to the circumstances behind all of this illicit behavior. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, we can always talk about the crimes that happen, the shootings, the burglaries, the homicides. And our job in law enforcement, we're sort of the end product. We're there when everything else has failed. And people call us, and our folks do a good job of investigating and finding out who's responsible for these crimes. But to really get to make a fundamental change, we need to go under it to see what's happening.
Yes, sir.
You can have a toothache, and you can put some of that deadening stuff on your tooth, and it's going to stop the pain, but it's not going to do away with the abscess up under there to where that, you have to go to the dentist, maybe get an extraction or a root canal or whatever. And so I always try to look at what is the underlying causes of that, and I think that's part of what my job is to look and see. And then express those concerns and then get others to help out, because none of us, nobody in the community, no organization can do it all by themselves. But if we all pull together, we can make some great changes.
I heard you mention something like hopelessness and despair and things of those nature. So talk specifically about what you think are but before you do that, let me introduce this show. This is a call to action. I'm your host, Alex Haversham, interviewing the High Sheriff, Mr. David Davis. And as I was saying, I just heard you, I specifically remember that you mentioned hopelessness,
That's right.
And despair. So I think there are some internal and some situational and some environmental factors, that contribute to it. And in my opinion, that's where the community comes in. And there's no way, that you can address individually and singularly all of these problems. We all have a responsibility. It affects all of us. We might think, well, it's not in my neighborhood, but just because it's not in your neighborhood does not mean that it affects you, because that means you got to hire more policemen you pay more taxes or what have you. So it affects everybody. And I'll let you talk about that in a minute, but it also affects the economic position of the county because, if in fact somebody's going to build a plant, if Microsoft wants to build a plant somewhere in the South, then we need to have a community that's livable and amenable to people coming in and things like that. Well, if every time they look around, it's a shooting or a killing, then they're going to go to Columbus or Albany. So talk about those factors, if you would, that you think influence.
Well, all of those things, everything is interrelated. And whether it's, we talk about the homicides, or whether we talk about the burglaries, or we talk about the recent spate of the opiate drug overdoses and all like that. People who have a job and are being able to be productive in society, they may get aggravated. They may not like their job. They may have things happen to them that they are not happy with, but they may get, as I say, aggravated. But they do not lose hope. They always know they're going to have a paycheck.
Right.
They know that they can do for themselves.
Right.
But when you have people that are addicted to drugs or that cannot find a job, who don't have the education, and you layer all that in, and then you have the hopelessness, which transcends into despair, and then when you communicate and to commiserate with others that are similarly situated,
right,
you're already to a certain level to where it doesn't take much to spark violence, and that's what we see in a lot of these cases. So there's underlying levels of people who are productive, may get aggravated with each other, and may have a verbal fight, but you lower in all these other factors and then add in a firearm or add in any type of intoxicant, and then it's a recipe for disaster.
Well, the interesting thing is that there are resources, approaches maybe, available to deal with these things, like the unemployment, the education, and I don't think we should leave out mental problems.
That's right.
Mental problems. So there are resources. So it seems to me, I ain't too smart, but it seems this is a call to action. I'm your host, Alex Havisham, interviewing Sheriff David Davis, and we are trying to address, the problems we are having in our community with crime as a result. We're talking about the result, but we want to address the factors that's contributing to the crime and ask the community for help. We're going to talk about some specific ways in a minute, but I think it's important that we indicate or that we express or that we let everybody know that it's a community problem. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to bless you. Yeah. Bless your heart, man. It's a big job, but I think that it's addressable and that it can be approached. But let's talk about a couple of things. Mm-hmm. First of all, let's talk about the programs you already got in place to try to address that, because maybe there are some listeners or some viewers who would want to be involved in those programs. Then we're going to talk about how the community can help.
Well, we have a lot of programs at the Sheriff's Office. One of our major programs is our CHAMPS program, which stands for Choosing Healthy Activities and Methods Promoting Safety. That is in our fifth grade. We've graduated over 4,000 students since we started that back in 2014. So that's in the schools. We have our Police Athletic League program where we go and do basketball and football. And you got to reach them where they are.
Where they are. And
get them involved in some activity and show them that they can amount to something, show that they can accomplish something. When the kid scores a touchdown or shoots a three-pointer, it builds that confidence and shows that they can do something.
Let's pinpoint that right there, because I want to say something. Yes. We got buildings all over this community. We got gyms all over this community. We got organizations and religious institutions all over this community. So what I hear you saying is that that athletic program, giving those young people something to do, can contribute to lessening the problems and increasing the responsibility and decreasing the hopelessness.
That's right.
And I interrupted you because you and I both want to suggest to the community, you know, that if you got that facility and some resources, both human and physical, then you can't have, I mean, you can't, the police athletic league can't do all of this by itself.
That's right. And,
go ahead.
And we want to be involved, but I would love it that the community does some of these same programs.
Yes,
I don't care if a deputy's nowhere around it, but the community can come forward. Another program that we've entered into, this RBI program, Reviving Baseball in the Inner Cities, not far from where we're sitting right now.
Right.
They're renovating a new field that is going to be great for this community. So it's something that, you know, we're looking for every avenue to make a difference, but we want to challenge and ask and hope that others will join us and spur some ideas, spur some program along. It doesn't take, people talk about, well, we want grants to do this or it costs money. It doesn't cost a penny for anyone to go into any school and read to a third grader, a fifth grader. It doesn't cost anything, but the value of that is immeasurable. And that's the kind of things, when everybody says, I can't do anything, it's going to take a organized effort. No, everybody can do a little something. And schools all over town, especially grammar schools, are wanting people to come in and get involved and to show, to be role models.
And I tell you,
show somebody that they care.
I'm glad you mentioned that word, role model, because there are a lot of people with a lot of time, you know, and there are a lot of young people out there, a lot of young people who could use role models or mentors. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, in every facet, everybody is a role model. I don't, whether you're doing well or not well, whether you're out here selling drugs or you're out here being a doctor or a lawyer, you're somebody's role model, and somebody watches what you do and tries to emulate you. We have a program now. We have our Explorer program, of which is the teenage. We have about 15 or 20 kids in that. They're like 14 to 16, 17. It's through the scouting. They wear a uniform. Wow. They become a role model to others at their schools. We also have a hook in that, hoping that they see what it is to be around law enforcement and hope to come to work for us or come to work in law enforcement at some point.
Because you could use some more sheriffs.
We use more deputies. So it's all about building that relationship and being a role model. And people can say, I'm not a role model, I don't want to be. You are. Somebody is watching everything that we do. And I go to groups or go to kids or go to meetings and tell people, somebody that is not here today is going to look at you as a role model, because they're going to ask you, what did y'all talk about?
Right.
What did they say?
Right.
And so you need to be willing to see that in yourself and to exploit it, to exploit it, and export it.
Yeah, you know, I've got some experience in mentoring, and you know, the good thing about mentoring, particularly one-on-one, that means everybody can do it. You know, if you see a kid in the neighborhood, you can just kind of reach out to the kid and see if in fact you can at least be a mentor. We're going to talk some more about the programs and other activities and programs and initiatives that we can use to address this problem that we're having in our community, the underlying problem that we're having in our community with crime. This is a call to action.
Call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Havisham, interviewing our High Sheriff, Mr. David Davis. We'll be right back.
Difference. But you always try to turn it around and get a positive. There's a silver lining in every cloud.
We're back. I'm Alex Habersham, your host for Call to Action, and I'm in the process of interviewing our sheriff, Mr. David Davis, Bibb County Sheriff, and we're having a very, very earnest and honest conversation about, crime and many of the negative happenings that are going on in our community. And, it's important to mention them, but he and I both agree that the most important thing is to discuss the underlying factors and what the community can do to address it. For example, we're here at Hutchins Career College and Career Academy with this interview, and we've got young people, who are making a difference because they are the ones who are recording this. Right. And then we, of course, want the young people out there to know that they too can make a difference. Right. You don't have to be an adult to be a role model. And really, every organization every group, as quiet as it's kept, has a leader. Mm-hmm. So talk a little bit about what young people can do.
Well, the main thing, without any doubt, what any young person can do is to get an education. The two main concepts that are the greatest crime prevention tools that there are is education and economic development. You get an education, it's going to help you to get a job, and it's going to help you be productive to where that you don't expose yourself to those underlying causes and underlying issues that create hopelessness and despair. You can't underrate an education.
Yes, sir.
The technical skills that are needed. I read where Amazon is wanting to build a second corporate headquarters. They're based out in Seattle now. They're wanting to build a second corporate headquarters. And one of the things that they're putting as one of their to-do list or one of their criteria for selection is what is the educational background, what is the connectivity to colleges and schools in that area. So you just can't underestimate an education. And those connections that come with an education. When you're in school and you're connected to like-minded people who have similar goals, you're going to look out for each other. You're going to know about job opportunities. You're going to know about goal setting. You're going to know about what it takes to make it in today's society and in today's job world.
Well, that's very interesting because what you just did, in identifying the two major factors is you're giving resources, institutions, and organizations a roadmap. That's right. Because what they can do, a church, or a community organization, or a nonprofit, if in fact they would like to help or to assist in addressing these problems, then they can deal with the educational end. I mean, you could have after-school programs. I mean, with technology, with a computer station, man. If you put 8 or 9 computers in a room, in a Sunday school classroom, in a church, and get people to come, they got programs that will interest them. And then the other thing, as it relates to economic development, is then maybe those of us who are in business, need to see if we can't slide another position in or try to do something to give some employment to these young people. Or, if there's an organization that needs some work done, maybe you could, get some young people to come in and do it and pay them. So that's extremely important. Education and economic development. Now, if in fact, specifically, what areas do you think, maybe formal and or informal, that the community can provide assistance in addressing these problems?
Well, to be there, to be a mentor, as you were talking about, to just be a sounding board for these folks that are in school that may have frustrations. You know, they're worrying about their course of study. They're worrying about that final they're going to be taking next week. But just to give them that uplifting, give them that confidence that they can overcome anything. Businesses, whether they may not be able to hire somebody, there's always internships. It doesn't cost a business anything, and we use those at the sheriff's office. People that are going through school come down to get an idea about what we do at the sheriff's office, and we get them to do some tasks there so they can really see what it's about. But the one thing that I don't want to leave here without saying,
go ahead,
is to be a lifelong learner. Now you and I, we've been around a little while. And when I first started at the sheriff's office, we had computers, but they were these big, bulky things that were mainframe and very limited as to what they could do.
Yes, sir.
And the next thing we have email, we have the internet, we have all of this technology. And if you quit learning when you graduate from school, you're going to be left behind.
Yes, sir.
You always keep your skills sharpened. Always know that life is a learning process, right, and seek avenues to learn things. Learn about things that's not your field of expertise. Right. We have students here learning about broadcast and those things. Learn about something that has nothing to do about broadcast so
right,
that you have as one of my teachers once said, a trained mind.
Right.
So you can talk about many different subjects.
Yes, sir.
My wife and I were having a conversation last night about why do students used to study Greek mythology and Roman? What context does that have in our world? But it tells you stories about how people handle situations. It gives you a broader range of subjects to talk to other people about. Right. So you can learn something
Absolutely.
from everything.
Okay.
And even if it's something of someone that you don't agree with, it's always good to know their point of view and know where they're coming from.
Well, I'm sure that these young people in this classroom or in this studio are accepting that. So not only in this studio, but throughout the community, I'm sure that they are accepting that as sound advice, and they're going to govern themselves accordingly. Specifically, if in fact someone has an idea, or someone has an organization, or someone has a facility, and or if somebody has a desire that they really, really want to be involved, what's the best way to kind of connect with the Sheriff's Department?
Well, they can call us at our direct number. They can call our number at 746-9441. That gets them to the main number of the Sheriff's Office. We have a Facebook page, Bibb Sheriff. Go to Facebook, look for Bibb County Sheriff's Office. That is monitored constantly. Someone can contact us that way. We have a website, bibbsheriff.us. They have a contact us link. So there's a lot of different ways that people can get into me or any of our programs at the Sheriff's Office. But
so if somebody
technologically go to Facebook.
If somebody just has an idea, then you don't have a problem with their at least calling, calling the office, because even if they initiate, say, hey, I want to do something and I want to try to help. Talk a little bit about two things: Crime Stoppers and neighborhood associations.
Two very crucial and critical elements of what we do. Crime Stoppers is a great program that helps us to find out where the bad people are that do bad things. And people are able to call into Crime Stoppers and report anonymously what they know or where someone is that we may be looking for, and they get a reward for it, up to $1,000 for the information that we get leading to an arrest. But another very important and a crucial element is the neighborhood watch associations. We do it, both have meetings. There's not hardly a day that goes by that some neighborhood is not having their neighborhood watch.
And they're all over town, aren't they?
They're all over. We have nearly 100 groups all over town.
Everybody can join some neighborhood watches.
That's right. Somewhere in your neighborhood is a neighborhood watch. If there's not, contact us. We'll get one started.
Yeah.
We also have a virtual neighborhood watch through our neighborhood watch outreach through our email update program, where that people are on that and they get all of the lookouts, they get all of the crime bulletins, they get everything to know what's happening in their particular neighborhood.
Wow.
So we have a virtual meeting every day with the emails that get sent out. So we have ways to connect, and we certainly want to know, because we can, someone can let us know something about something suspicious on one street, we send it out through our update.
Wow.
And then we get reports back, other parts of the community lets us know what's happening.
Right.
So it's all that connectivity
Yes, sir.
and relationship building. That's what it's all about.
Well, I want to congratulate you for the job you're doing.
Thanks. I got good people.
I know
good
you
people.
do.
It's not all
I
me.
know you do. You and your organization. I want to congratulate you, and I want to encourage the community to get involved. The sheriff has resources and individuals that can assist you if, in fact, you want to help. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham, and my parting words are this. Don't just stand there. Do something. Have a great day.
www.makingblackpages.com.
I'm Jason Lee, owner of Lee Insurance and Notary Services. I assist businesses and individuals with finding affordable insurance solutions for their auto, home, life, or business insurance. Contact me today to give me an opportunity to earn your business. My number is 478-254-9858. Lee Insurance and Notary Services, always honest, always fair.